Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to 10 o'clock. Welcome to Classic, white t-shirt, 57 Chevy, Fender Stratocaster. I'm not wearing Levi's jeans, but you know Classic, and Classic is techniques like clipper over comb. We're going to take a deep dive this morning into Classic clipper over comb technique for hair cutters. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I've got tools, I've got information, I've got ideas to share, and I'm excited to share this class and then head into a beautiful weekend here in Chicago. Hope you're doing good. I've got Facebook coming up right now on my laptop so I can monitor comments and chat, hopefully, as best I can. And good to see you. We're going to take a clipper comb and we're going to cut clipper over comb. That's the world famous Zoot comb. And of course, you know, we're going to take that comb out of the barbicide jar. Yes, we're going to take a moment. We're going to acknowledge, shout out to our friends at Barbicide who are working hard every single day, shipping every single day under our current pandemic circumstances, because you need your barbicide, you want your barbicide, and all the other great products from Blue Co. to protect you and your business and your clients and your reputation. So protection with confidence is kind of what we're all about. Blue is the color of trust, and it always has been in the professional beauty and barber industry. So barbicide.com is where you go for information, for educational downloads, for programming and support. And if you got questions or you need help, just reach out to me. That's how it works. So thank you, friends from Barbicide. Tradition is tradition, and that's why when we talk classic, we're talking about things that have been around a while, that we've been doing for a while, that we know really well. Like $100,000 hair cutter. $100,000 hair cutters are not one-shot people. This is not a one-time thing. $100,000 hair cutter is a mindset. $100,000 hair cutter is a commitment. $100,000 hair cutter is even to some extent a lifestyle. It's one idea a day, every single day, for 365 days. And you know what happens at the end of the year? Yup, you start over. We read one excerpt a day, we read the daily excerpt, and then we also take a contribution from the community of an extra page. So if you're online on Facebook, if you're watching me now live, and you want to pick a day other than today for me to read and feature, shout out, and we will do that. But we'll start with today. Today is the 29th of May. Wrapping up May, getting ready for June. June's going to be big, guys. Many of us will be back to work by June or June-ish if we're not already, and that's pretty cool. June is the month in which every single day during the month of June, I am going to post a video. I'm going to post it on Instagram Live, and I'm going to share it over to IGTV, but every single day for the entire month of June, we're going to talk about July 1, Raise Your Haircut Prices Day in the USA. That's the holiday that I created about a dozen years ago. That's the holiday we all want to celebrate together. And this year, on one level, everything is different because we're getting back to work, and I'm so happy to see that most of you, a large segment of our industry, has made the decision to go up. When we go back, we go up. When we go back, we go up has been a big hashtag that I've been using a great deal over the last number of weeks. When we go back, we go up, reflecting the need to raise our prices as it relates to higher costs of doing business, and reflecting the need to charge more money to help close the gap. It won't close the gap completely between the money we could typically earn and the reduction in our productivity as a result of the needs for social distancing and haircutting circumstances and situations. So, and that is the topic of the week, by the way. The topic of the week has been closing that financial gap between what we're used to earning, what we'd like to be earning, what we need to be earning, what we want to be earning. We had the text post in the blog at ivanzoot.com on Tuesday, the live meeting on Wednesday on Zoom. You are welcome to join us for that live meeting. Reach out to me for more information on that. It's every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Thursday's the video of the week, and today, Friday, launches the audio post. The audio post is live right now at patreon.com/IvanZoot. I will put that in the comments on this video as well, so you have that information. But that is We talk about a different subject every single week, and we text, and we video, and we audio, and we have a live meeting on it. So we are trying to support you in the professional beauty industry with all the technological tools we have, with all the reach we can muster. You know, we used to do this in trade shows, and we just don't do that right now. We may not do that ever again. We just don't know. But that doesn't mean we can't reach you. That doesn't mean we can't share with you. That doesn't mean we don't want to be helping you every single day. So let's take a look at today. 29. May 29, day 149, with 216 days remaining in the year. May 29, ask for client testimonials. If you say it, they can doubt you. If it comes from a third party having nothing to gain from the statement, it carries a lot more weight. Product reviews and other forms of user comments have become the norm online. Consumers take these seriously and give them much weight in making purchase decisions. Ask for written testimonials from your clients. Capture video endorsements. A guy with a great haircut talking about his haircutter is a powerful selling tool. Happy clients will be excited to help you in this way. Offer product samples and free haircuts as incentive where needed to encourage these testimonials. We're not above paying for this, and there's nothing wrong with rewarding or compensating a client for an enthusiastic testimonial for us and our business. A powerful testimonial can be priceless for building business. Feature these prominently on your website and in your social media. So the tip for today is a marketing and promotional tip. It's got nothing to do with actually putting hair on the floor. It's got nothing to do with technical skills. Being a $100,000 hair cutter is about more than just cutting hair. It's about a lot of different aspects of your business. Sales, advertising, marketing, promotional, technical, culture. Many different aspects of your shop and your business. So today's tip was a marketing tip. Let's take a look and just see if we got any contributions from Facebook World. Do we have any comments yet from Facebook World with recommendations, suggestions, or asks for dates? We don't. All right, if it comes up, we can bounce back. But otherwise, the topic, the subject, the agenda for today was clipper over comb. So if you haven't already got a copy of $100,000 Hair Cutter, get your copy. Amazon.com, of course, ivanzoot.com, paper, digital, or audio. Get your $100,000 hair cutter. While you're there, if you want to pick up the 4-book set, all 4 of my titles, 100,000, 100 by 100, and Big and Bigger. All 4 titles in a bundle at a special price. And for those of you who've already ordered Big and Bigger, these were my pre-production print copies for author evaluation. The ordered copies to fulfill all the back orders are going to be arriving on Monday. So Monday lunchtime, all back orders on the orders of Big and Bigger are going to hit the mailbox. So if you're waiting on these arriving, please know, I said the end of the week, it's going to be Monday next week, but Big and Bigger are on the way. This is year 1, year 2, week 1 through 52, 53 through 104, 104 weeks, 2 solid years. Hyper-focused on marketing. No haircutting, just build and grow your business. Solid marketing information for hair cutters. Buy them separately or buy the 2-pack. All right, guys. Clipper over comb. You ready to get into clipper over comb? This is the Zoot comb. The Zoot comb is part of the Zoot comb system. The system is the comb and the guards. We're going to focus just on the comb. Clipper combs are unique and specific in that they're always going to have some kind of handle. The handle on the clipper comb allows you to manipulate the comb properly, not only for effective tapering, but also for your own personal comfort. You know, in our healthy hair cutter classes, we've talked about long-term durability in the business. We've talked about being nice to your moving parts, arms, wrists, shoulders, your back, your legs, in order to have a long, healthy, comfortable, sustainable career. Well, it starts with picking up a comb. Clipper over comb. You do not hold a clipper comb with your thumb on the back side like that. That's called surface grabbing. When you surface grab a comb like that, you must turn your entire wrist in order to manipulate the position of the comb. That's a gross motor movement, and that's going to lead to a repetitive motion injury. That's going to be an ouch. When we properly do clipper over comb, when we properly cut clipper over comb, I always say hold up a quarter. Take a quarter, that's a quarter, and hold it up by the edges, between your thumb and forefinger, just like that. If you're a right-handed hair cutter, that's going to be your left thumb, just like that. Now, drop that quarter away and swap it for your comb. Put your comb in there like that with your thumb and forefinger. You'll notice when I designed the zoot comb, that spot right there is exactly the width of a quarter. There are no accidents. That didn't happen as a coincidence. That happened on purpose. That was part of the deliberate design of the comb. Also, the smooth top side of the comb, we flip-flopped. Our fine teeth for detailing point that way, and our wider teeth for general cutting, clipper cutting, scissor cutting, razor cutting, point the opposite way. So I can set it in my hand, and I can roll my fingers down around it. My fingers here are not pressing on the teeth. They're on the spine of the comb in a comfortable manner. This allows me to do this. I'm going to turn sideways perpendicular. This handhold allows me to do this. That's called pitch and wiggle. That's where I change the angle of the comb relative to the surface of the client's head for beautiful tapering work. It looks like that. If you're watching and you've got a comb and you're holding a comb and you're doing something like this with a comb, do this along with me. Now, do one more thing. Do this. Boom. Boom. Drop the nose. Handle, nose. Handle, nose. Thumb and forefinger, hold up a quarter. Make a fist with 3 fingers. Boom. Drop it down at an angle. The angled position of your comb, any angle other than horizontal, is going to be extraordinarily important for good, clean tapering to prevent steps, lines, and marks. Let me show you why. When you are cutting clipper over comb, and I just want to double check and make sure this guy is right in the middle of the camera. Boom! Right in the middle of the camera. When you are cutting clipper over comb, you don't ever want to hold the comb horizontally. When I hold the comb horizontally, you see the hair accumulate in along the base of the spine at the bottom of the teeth, what are called the tooth roots. You see the hair sit in there along the tooth roots. Now what's going to happen if I come across clipper over comb, zip, when that hair is sitting along the bottom of the spine? I'm going to leave a big step, ledge, ridge, weight line, or demarcation in the hair. I'm going to put a big nasty step in there. And the secret to good classic tapered hair cutting is if you don't put the line in, you don't ever have to take the line out. Fundamental to clipper over comb. By holding the comb at an angle, you will dramatically reduce the statistical probability of putting that line in. And if you didn't put it in, you won't ever have to take it out. So we're going to keep that comb running at a bit of an angle. Now, when we talk about the design of the zoot comb, one of the things we always point out is on the handle end, the thin end, the flexible end that is used for all our lining and edging and detailing, that's the end of the comb that we're going to use for fine trimmer work, our detail trimmer work. That's the end of the comb that we're going to use for some of our more, what we'll call finesse scissor work. For some of our really fine clipper over comb and scissor over comb, that spine is curved. That curved spine mimics the natural motion that we use when we come up in our tapering. That curved spine is very important for that type of cutting. That curved spine makes sense for a lot of that little detail work. And I always like to point out at this point the mid-tone color, the light gray color. The mid-tone color that really allows for visibility, and you can't cut what you can't see. All comes down to being able to see it. Conversely, when we get into our clipper over comb conversation, we move to the large side of the comb. The large side of the comb is wider than the clipper. That's not an accident. Clipper over comb with a traditional hair cutting comb right there, that is an accident looking for a head to happen on. You're going to slip off that comb. You're going to thump them in the head with a running clipper. Oops, you're going to have a bad day at the office. We don't want to go there. Clipper combs are going to be the width of the clipper at least. And our clipper comb's got that straight spine that lends itself perfectly to that line blending, angle work conversation. That curved spine was important on our detailing comb. That straight spine is so very important on our clipper over comb, clipper comb. Now, we're going to look at two different techniques. When we focus on clipper over comb, we're going to look at a technique called cross-cutting, and we're going to look at a technique called upcutting. And I want to make sure that we point out the difference between the two. Cross-cutting has us cutting across the teeth, and upcutting has us cutting up along the teeth. Let's look at the difference. This is cross-cutting. Notice I'm working 90 degrees to the teeth. I'm not here and I'm not horizontal. The teeth are at an angle pointing this way, so I am coming in across the teeth. Hence the name cross-cutting. It's called cross-cutting because we're working across the teeth. Now, I also sometimes refer to cross-cutting as trap cutting. And the reason I call it trap cutting is when you hold hair in the teeth and you come across the teeth, for all practical purposes, the hair is trapped in the teeth. When the hair sits in the teeth and the clipper comes by, that hair's coming off. It's trapped and it's being cut. It can't go anywhere else. The clipper comes up and takes it away. Cross-cutting or trap cutting. Cross-cutting is to be considered very direct. It is to be considered very aggressive, because when you are cross-cutting, all of the hair hanging out of the comb comes off. Everything comes off flush with the comb. The opposite technique is a technique called upcutting. Upcutting is where the clipper will be run parallel to the teeth. Now, we're not straight up because the comb's not straight up. The comb is at an angle and the clipper is now running parallel to the teeth. See how we're running parallel to the teeth? Parallel to the teeth. The difference between cross-cutting and upcutting is where cross-cutting is very direct. Everything hanging out of the comb gets cut off. Upcutting is more of a finesse technique. It's more of a polishing technique. Because with your upcutting technique, when you come in parallel to the teeth, some of the hair gets cut off by the clipper. Some of the hair gets cut off by the clipper. But some of the hair is simply pushed up and out of the teeth. It probably bumps into the non-moving teeth, and the non-moving teeth, instead of cutting it off, simply push the hair up and out of the way. So that's the difference between cross-cutting and upcutting. Now, when you're watching a busy barber, when you're watching an experienced clipper cutter, when you're watching somebody who really has gained a level of comfort and confidence with clipper over comb, one of the things you will see is an alternation, rather freely and somewhat randomly, between cross-cutting and upcutting. It will look something like this. Barber guy will be doing something like this. Cross, 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 up, up, cross, cross, up, cross, 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 up, 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 randomly back and forth. And what you're seeing them doing is working that surface down in a very efficient manner. And they're alternating between taking away length and bulk and smoothing out the finish. So they're coming in and they're going cross, 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 up, 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 cross, cross. And they're looking at that surface quality as they go, and they're roughing it in and polishing it up, and roughing it in and polishing it up. And that's the essence of good clipper over comb skill. Thumb and forefinger for control, angle to prevent lines, cross and up for rough it in and polish it. Now, let's take a look at another suggestion. For those of you that are less comfortable and less confident with clipper over comb, one of my suggestions is always adding a little bit of clipper over comb insurance. And here's what we mean. We're going to take our clipper in the 000 closer closed position, and we're going to put a number 1 guard on our clipper. That's a number 1 guard in place on my clipper. What that does is, cuts to a number 1, it thickens up the non-moving blade. It adds distance on the back side of the non-moving blade, on the back of the comb. Now, it adds distance between my clipper and my clipper comb. It slows me down, it backs me up, and it backs me off. It cuts a little less aggressively, and it cuts a little less progressively. So it's going to look like this. I'm cross-cutting with a 1 guard in place on my clipper, and I'm up-cutting with a 1 guard in place on my clipper. You'll notice when I cross-cut, it won't cut everything. It leaves hair hanging out of the comb. It has backed me up, backed me off, and backed me away. It's slowed me down. What a wonderful way for new clipper cutters, for less experienced clipper over comb cutters, to gain a level of comfort and confidence with clipper over comb technique. You're able to come in comfortably and confidently and take that surface down a little slower, a little more gently, if you will. Now, let's talk about what's happening in our comb hand, because we brought up the use of guards. We picked up a guard. Guards are for creating tapering. In another class, in another video, at another time, I have shared my skip guard system. The skip guard system is a system where we use more than 1 guard to create more than 1 length. And we do beautiful tapering with a guard. If a guy comes in and sits down and during a consultation he says, "How do you want your hair cut?" He says, "Give me a 3." We know that if we run a 3 up the back and sides of his head, we know it's going to look nice, but we know it's not tapered. Because if we run a 3 guard up the back of someone's head, every hair from the perimeter to the blending point is the exact same length. 3 guard, 3/8 of an inch. At the top, we kind of rock it out. It gets a tiny bit longer, but it's not really tapered. We want to create good tapered work. We know how to do that with guards from my skip guard class. If you haven't seen the skip guard class, go to YouTube, type in my name, Ivan Zoot, and type in skip guard tapering. You'll find it. It's there. You'll get it. It's cool. Now, we're putting down the guards. We're picking up the clipper comb. Nothing changes because a clipper comb is really a bunch of guards. And what I mean by that is, it is a thickness. There's a thickness to a clipper comb. The Zoot comb, if you lay it on his head, flat against his head, and you zip off every single thing hanging out of the comb, that's a 1. Approximately, give or take. That's a 1. That is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and that's going to leave you a 1 on the head. But if instead of laying the comb flat, using our thumb and forefinger like we were holding our quarter, if you tip the comb out, if you roll the comb, now the spine is still resting on the head. We're still in contact with the head. But as you roll the comb out, and the top of the tips of the teeth are tipped out towards you, easy for me to say, as you roll the comb out with the top of the tips of the teeth tipped out towards me, I'm going to build length. That's tapering. Top of the tips of the teeth tipped out towards you creates tapering. Here we go. We're going to come in down low. We'll hold the comb flatter. As we come up high, we will begin to rock the comb out. And eventually we will leave the head. We will come away from the head. And notice my comb. Notice what's going on. Notice how it's moving. It's that C-shaped or curving motion that you are so familiar with from guard cutting. See what's going on? That would be guard cutting. See what's going on? that would be clipper over comb. See the common? See the connection? See the relationship? See how it's similar but not different? Boom, you got it. That is clipper over comb. So you've got a lot going on there. You've got your hand position. You've got your angle. You've got your rocking out. You've got your cross cutting. You've got your up cutting. You've got a 1 guard on there for clipper insurance, 1/8 of an inch of protection. Are you with me so far? Throw me a thumb. That's a beautiful thing. Now, I just want to check in here with our Facebook community, because we've covered a lot of information this morning. Hang on. All right. What's up, Cutting? Cutting? Not much. What's up with you? Aaron, I love it. Awesome. All right. Good morning. Everybody's checking in here. I'm happy. All right. So, next thing we want to look at is we want to break down the head. You know, because part of clipper over comb is the answer to the question, how do you eat a rhinoceros? There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of head to cover. You got to break it down into some smaller pieces. You got to break it down into sections we can handle. Sectioning, subsectioning, breaking a haircut and a head down into smaller pieces is fundamental to the way we all know we cut hair. So we're going to use a system called panel cutting. Panel cutting is a system where we subdivide the head into a series of vertical overlapping panels to move around the head. Panel number 1 is in the middle of the back of the head. Panel number 1 is about the size of our clipper comb, right there at the center back of the head. We're going to cut hair in panel number 1. We're going to stay in panel number 1, and we're going to stick in panel number 1. We're not going to cut any hair over here. We're not going to cut any hair over here. We're only going to cut hair in center back panel number 1 until panel number 1 represents a little finished haircut. Panel number 1 will then become my guide. That's right. So spend your time, take your time, invest your time in getting panel number 1 to look really, really good. It's going to look like this. We're going to come in low. We're going to work our way up. Now, I know I'm not taking a lot of hair off here, and that's not important because I'm strictly trying to demonstrate the technique. But we're going to work on panel number 1, and we're going to work on panel number 1 until panel number 1 is good and finished and happy. And only when panel number 1 is good and finished and happy do we move on to panel number 2. Panel number 2 consists of 50%, half of previously cut panel number 1 serving as my guide, and 50% new hair living next door. So if that was panel number 1, that is panel number 2. All the time you spent in panel number 1, all the time you invested in panel number 1 will be saved in subsequent panels. I move on to 2. Light hair, dark combs, dark hair, light combs. You can't cut what you can't see. The leading edge of my comb serves as my visual guide, looking for the hair next door, looking for the guide hair, looking for the hair, cutting, matching, blending as I move up. When I'm happy with panel number 2, and only when I'm happy with panel number 2, do I move on to panel number 3. Panel number 3 is half of panel number 2. That's right. We don't go back to panel number 1. Each panel becomes the guide for the next panel. 1 is the guide for 2, 2 is the guide for 3, 3 is the guide for 4, and we continue vertically overlapping as we move around the head. Now, generally speaking, on a full-sized adult male, it'll take anywhere from 4 to 7 vertical sections to get from the center back of the head to the back of the ear on one side. Boom, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. The variables, of course, are head size. The bigger his head, the more panels you may need. Density and texture of hair. If he's got a lot of thick, heavy hair, you may need to move a little more slowly and a little more small in order to get around the head like that. So there are some variables that will be factored into that situation. When you go from the center back to the back of the ear, you stop, and then you go back to the center and you move your way out the opposite side. That's panel cutting as a technique applied to clipper over comb. The last thing I do want to point out is comb position. At center back panel number 1, I will be at an angle of about 15 degrees. 15 degrees. Every panel that I work vertically up the head, what do you notice about the angle of the comb as I continue working my way around? That's right. The angle of the comb becomes a little steeper. It's going to look like this. Center back, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look what happened by the time I got to panel number 5. His chin is down just a little bit. Look at the angle of my comb. If his chin came up, my comb at this point is almost vertical. I've changed my angle as I've worked my way around the head. Hopefully that'll make sense for you. Now, the next element I want to throw in for you, again, helping people build comfort and confidence, helping people work more efficiently and more effectively, I want to take a minute to talk about the snap-on guard system that is part of the Zoot comb system. The basic comb, you can buy it by itself, or you can buy it in the system. ivanzoot.com to get you one. Now, the guards, they look like this. And they come in red, white, and blue, like America. And in red, white, and blue, they're also labeled or numbered like clipper guards. 2, 3, 4. 4 is blue, 1/2 inch, 13 millimeters. They're labeled just like our clipper guards. 3 and 2. The comb by itself is a 1. So what you have here is a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Cool. We're going to snap them in and snap them on. Just like a clipper guard, you go with the leading edge first, the teeth first, they drop into the grooves, and then you push it back, and you snap it in. Loud, clean, clear, comfortable, confident, safe click. Now you'll notice one of the unique features is the tab lays flush with the comb. The tab lays flush with the comb. The tab will not interrupt or interfere in our clipper over comb technique. The measurements are the guard plus the comb equals the number. So a 4 guard, if you measured it, it's not a 1/2 inch. But when you take a 4 guard and you put it on a comb and you add the two together, that's where you get your 1/2. Guard goes on the back side of the comb. As a right-handed hair cutter, it will look like that. Don't worry, lefties. We got you. You simply flip the comb over to the opposite side. Boom. Now you're good to go on the other side of the comb. But that's for our lefties. I'm a righty, so I'm going to set that in and snap it down. Now I have a distance regulator. I have a guard on my comb. I can know that this will cut a number 4 or more as I rock it out. Top of the tips of the teeth tipped out towards me, working in panels, cross-cutting, or up-cutting. But what I've done is I've put the comfort, confidence, and security of a guard on the back side of the comb. Throw me a thumb if you think that's cool. All right? Now, I use my 4. I can skip my 3. I can go to my 2. Skip guard tapering. We love skip guard tapering. I put a 2 guard on the comb, and now I focus lower up the head, lower down the head, with a shorter guide comb to execute beautiful tapering. That's the guard system for your Zoot comb. Now these guards can be used not just for the tight tapering, but also to provide control. The longer teeth help flow and control greater amounts of hair. So I'll use a guard when I'm coming up in and through the top of the head, just to keep that hair flowing into and through the comb in a neat and organized manner. It's a beautiful way for helping me do underhand cutting over the top of the head like this for beautiful blending on wonderful classic clipper comb shapes. That was underhand clipper over comb. Let's take a look at the difference, because let's point that out since we did. You've been watching mostly overhand. Overhand is called overhand because my hand is over the clipper. This is called underhand. This was called overhand. How do you know which one to use when and where? The answer is, where are you on the head? The dividing line is the parietal ridge, the crest line, and the occipital bone. That line we know at the widest point of the head, moving around the head. And here's the rule. Over, under, over. Over, under, over. What does that mean? That means anytime we are cutting under the crest line, we will use overhand position. Look at my body. My back is straight, my elbows are down, my shoulders are relaxed, my wrist is straight, and this is a comfortable position for me to work in. Under the crest line, overhand position. But watch what happens if I try to come up over the crest line. Overhand. Elbow up, shoulder twisted, back twisted, wrist bent. Ouch, ouch, ouch. This is not comfortable. This doesn't work. So when we want to go over the crest line, we switch to underhand position. Look at me now. Over the top of the head, top cutting. My back is straight, my elbows are down, my shoulders are relaxed, my wrist is straight, and I'm working in a comfortable position. Over the crest line, underhand. You ever seen somebody try to cut underhand under the crest line? Look what my back is bent, my knee is bent, my elbow's up, my shoulder's twisted, my back is twisted, my neck is... When we talk about healthy haircut or stuff, this is a perfect example. You got to be nice to you while we're taking good care of them. You got to be nice to you, or this is going to hurt. So, the crest line is the divider. Overhand under the crest line, underhand over the crest line. Boom. That's what you need to know. Now, we also said in this program we would address the subject of cowlicks. Somebody asked about it in a class recently, and I said we would go there and have a quick cowlick conversation. And there's a lot of witchcraft and there's a lot of misunderstanding about cowlicks. And we're going to break it down really simple. When you encounter a cowlick, and a cowlick is a strong pattern of growth or direction within the hair. Okay? Comes from the term where a cow, you see them licking, their tongue kind of licks around in that swirl like that. We get them in the crown. We get single swirls or double swirls. We see them in the neckline. We see them in the front hairline. We see them in the corners at the sides. 3 rules for every cowlick you ever encounter your entire career. These are constants. These are hair cutting principles. These are essential, and these are unchanging. As long as you're ever cutting hair, every cowlick you ever encounter your entire career, these are your only 3 options. Option number 1, leave it long enough to lay down. Leave it long enough to lay down. In the crown, frequently, we will see a piece of hair sticking up, and it looks like the whip on the back of a state trooper police car. That big old whip antenna. It's too short. If it's sticking up, it's too short. Based on cranial shape, density, and texture, the only way that hair will lay down is if it is long enough. The expression is length equals strength. What I mean by that is every millimeter that a piece of hair is longer, it is stronger. It has a greater ability to resist the forces of gravity, or to play with the forces of gravity to lay down. Every bit that it is shorter, it is weaker, and against gravity, it boinks up. So, length, leave it long enough to lay down. Top crown area like that, nape line like that, leave it longer. Many times those cowlicks will present, meaning they will show up at your chair already too short. You're going to have to leave them alone, and over a couple of haircuts, grow them into laying down. Now, frequently we see those strong crown cowlicks on little boys, on younger people. And frequently at 5 and 6 and 7, boink, they're standing straight up. But by the time they get to be 10, 12 years old, it has begun to lay down. And we think it's us. We think we have learned how to cut their hair. We think we have mastered that cowlick. Typically, that's not the case. What has typically happened is, as a child grows, their skull finishes development. It grows, the plates of their skull grow together, and their head has gotten bigger. Your head as an adult is bigger than it was when you were a little kid. It's the way it works. And what happens is, your hair is in a pattern, your follicles and your growth direction and hair is in a pattern on your scalp on top of your skull. And like inflating a basketball, as your skull grows, that scalp stretches. And as that scalp stretches, that boink cowlick that was sticking straight up at the age of 6, by the age of 10, it has calmed down and chilled out. It's got more room to play, and it lays down nicely. So it's not just that we turned into fabulous hair cutters, it's that their scalp has mellowed, that pattern has chilled just a little bit. Option number 1, long enough to lay down. Option number 2 is where we typically need to go with those young boys or adults that have very strong cowlicks. Option number 2 is cut it short enough so that it does in fact stick up, but it contours into the silhouette of the haircut that we hope to achieve. So as an example, when that little boy comes in and he's got that boing right here, you can't do anything to make it lay down now because it's got to be longer to do that. But what you can do, Mom says, I don't want that sticking up. Well, we come in and we take a whole lot of that crown length down so that although, boink, it does stick up, it contours into the overall silhouette of the shape of the haircut. I always use as an example of that my sides. I would say to you, I want my sides short, but I don't want them to be sticking out. A lot of times, very spiky textures of hair, very coarse, straight textures of hair, these clients, their hair doesn't get long, their hair gets big. And that's exactly what's going on there. In order to take their hair short, we need to take it in small. We cut it in. I mean, my sides are short enough. My sides stick straight out off my head, but they're short enough that they contour into the intended silhouette of my haircut. So option number 1, leave it long. Option number 2, boink, cut it short and let it stick up. And option number 3, and I'll give you a little hint. Option number 3 will never apply in the crown. It will sometimes apply in the front hairline, and it's almost always used through the nape perimeter. What do you think option number 3 is? Option number 3 is gone. Put it on the floor. Number 1, long enough to lay down. Number 2, short enough to stick up. Number 3, gone. Can't do that up here. But down in through here and across the front, trimmer, razor, get out your appropriate tools. Taper that in short, cut it off, clean it up, gone. It'll be back in 4 weeks. But for now, the answer is take it out of here. Those are your 3 choices for every cowlick you ever encounter your entire career. Long, short, or gone. There's none of this crazy ways to part it and split it and growth and this and that, and texture shears and razoring, none of that. Those are your choices. Long enough to lay down, short enough to stick up, or gone. So today we covered clipper over comb, we covered cowlicks. I'm going to go back to our Facebook group. I just want to see if anybody has any particular questions. Couple of comments here on cowlicks. Leave it long or cut it short. Matt, couldn't agree with you more. Bernard, shear it. I don't think it matters what tool you're using. If you're implying shear it off like sheep, I'm with you. Rebecca, you got the emoji. I love it. Terry Ann, thank you for being here. Appreciate your comment. All right, guys, that covers us for today. Now remember, here's how it works. This video will be available to watch over and over and over again until 6 a.m. tomorrow. After that, this video will live on in the archives on my Patreon community, patreon.com/Ivan Zoot. You can subscribe there, join my tribe, and have access to this and many, many, many. There's almost 100 hours now of content that I've uploaded to that website for you to tap into and enjoy. Go online and get your books. 100 Big and Busy, $100,000 Hair Cutter. It's all there for you to enjoy. You got to have a Zoot comb. If you don't have one of these, you got to get a Zoot comb. The most popular purchase on my website is this right here. It's the System Plus One. You get one comb plus another comb in the system. That way you got one in the barber side and you got one in your hand. You got a backup and you're good to go. Get a Zoot comb system with guards and get busy doing beautiful clipper over comb work. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you join me back here next week. Next week, Monday through Friday, 5 days, 5 classes. Next week, we're going to be at 9 a.m., 1 hour earlier, 9 a.m. Central Time. I look forward to seeing you here. I look forward to you joining me there. I look forward to having a great weekend. I hope you do the same. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.